Hi, welcome to GenXGrownUp. My name is Mo and I am a GenXGrownUp. Welcome to another special edition of Movies You Probably Missed. So I did a previous special edition of Movies You Missed about movie flops from the 80s that I thought were pretty good movies. And I had so much fun doing it, I decided to do it again for the 1990s. If you haven't seen the previous video, please go back, check out and look at the 80s movies that I thought were pretty good even though they were box office flops. And stay tuned for my top 10 list of movie videos from the 1990s that were box office flops.
Coming in at number 10 is Nightbreed. This movie was written and directed by Clive Barker, who recently brought us Hellraiser a few years earlier. It tells the story of Aaron Boone, who dreams of a place called Midian, where the monsters live, and he feels he belongs. He eventually finds his way to Midian, where he meets the Nightbreed, who have been hiding away from humanity, and his arrival is part of a prophecy that says that Midian will be destroyed and puts the local humans against the Nightbreed. Clive Barker is known for his imagination, and in this movie he lets it go crazy. He creates the most bizarre set of characters to inhabit Midian. According to Clive Barker, the film distributors tried to sell this as a slasher film because they really didn't understand the story. He also hated the final cut of the movie. Luckily, they found the lost footage and created a new director's cut that was released in 2014 that totally changed the ending of the movie. If you want to see a prime example of some late 80s, early 90s over-the-top horror movies, then you definitely don't want to miss this one. At number 9, Hero. Dustin Hoffman plays Bernie LaPlante, a petty thief who's very cynical about everything in life. But when a plane literally crashes in front of him, he reluctantly goes in there and saves some of the passengers, while at the same time helping himself to any valuables he could find. After leaving the crash site with his stolen goods, LaPlante gets a ride from a homeless vet by the name of John Bubber, who's played by Andy Garcia. LaPlante tells Bubber about the entire incident and also gives him an excuse about why he can't come forward as the hero. One of the people he rescued was a reporter played by Gina Davis, who convinces the news network to offer $1 million reward for the identity of the person who saved her from the plane. So when LaPlante doesn't come forward, mostly because he's in jail, John Bubber decides that he's going to come forward and try to use the money for something good. John's fame and influence continue to grow because he's basically a good person, while LaPlante keeps having one bad turn after another. I like this movie because it had a real 1950s sort of vibe to it. Even though it was met with fairly positive reviews, the movie just couldn't find its right audience. A good story and a great cast really make this movie worth watching. At number 8, Mystery Men. In a slightly surreal world that has a bunch of superheroes in it, a group of B-listers are basically trying to make a name for themselves and play in the big leagues. This movie has a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, some of it's kind of juvenile, but it still has a lot of heart in it in my opinion. Plus, this movie stars a pretty huge comedy cast. I mean, you have Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Hank Azaria, Janine Garofalo, Paul Rubens, Eddie Izzard, Wes Studi, Kel Mitchell, Greg Kinnear, and Jeffrey Rush. I mean, this one made fun of superhero movies before there was even a surge of superhero movies. Coming in at number 7, Searching for Bobby Fischer. Don't let the fact that this movie is about the riveting, exciting world of chess prevent you from seeing this. It's actually a great movie. It's about a young chess prodigy that's trying to be, a good son to his father, a good student to his teacher, and a good friend. It even manages to have a tension-filled final match with the student going up against his biggest rival. I mean, with a great cast and it's based on a true story, it's really just a perfect movie for a quiet night. At number 6, The Frighteners. Before he did Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson directed a much smaller movie about a man who could see and interact with ghosts in this comedy horror story. It starred Michael J. Fox in what I believe to be one of his last roles. With the help of a couple friendly ghosts, he uses his abilities to basically scam people out of money. But he runs into trouble when the spirit of a serial killer begins to haunt him. It mixes funny and creepy with a good story to make a really great underrated movie. And at number 5, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Starring Chevy Chase and Daryl Hannah, this really understated movie tells a story about a man without many personal connections who gets turned invisible in a freak accident. Since he doesn't want to be studied in a lab for the rest of his life, he goes on the run and tries to figure out how to deal with the fact that he's invisible. He's chased, of course, by the CIA, who's played by Sam Neill. Even though the critics really hated this movie, I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it put an original twist on a very classic story. In at number 4 is Gattaca. I almost didn't include this one in my list because I don't think many people actually missed this film. But if you haven't seen it, then you're definitely missing out. It takes place in a not so distant future where the technology to instantly read somebody's DNA is available. And it shows how it affects life because parents are now able to choose the traits that their children will have, and people are judged not by what they can do, but what by their genetics say they can do. The movie stars Ethan Hawke, who is forced to take on the identity of somebody with better genetics, just so he can follow his dream of going into space. This movie shows a future that seems all too possible to me. Definitely one to put on your watch list if you haven't seen it already. Okay, we're closing into the end of my list, and coming in at number 3 is Mimic. If bugs gross you out, then you'll definitely want to stay away from this movie. More of a suspense thriller than horror, Miro Sorvino plays a scientist who has to create a superbug that kills off the roach population in New York City because they are carriers of a disease that's killing children. So what could possibly go wrong with a genetically modified superbug that's let loose in New York City? One of Del Toro's early films, he didn't have final cut authority, which he thinks affected the final product and the bad reviews that it received. There is a director's cut out there now, so if you're looking for a really good suspense thriller horror movie with disgusting bugs, then this is one you gotta see. And at number 2, Dark City. Now my good friend John over here at GenXGrownUp totally disagrees with me on this movie, but since it's my list, it goes in at number 2. Dark City is a sci-fi thriller set in a place where the residents are unknowingly used as test subjects. The hidden beings that control the city can give the residents different identities so they can set up different social situations to help understand human beings better. The control over the city is so tight that the people who live there don't even realize or question why it's never daytime and why nobody ever wants to leave. The movie follows a man who accidentally gets a peek behind the curtain. I really enjoy this movie because it's one of those that basically peels away a layer after layer until you get to a pretty satisfying ending. I'm sorry, John, I think this is a great movie. And my number 1 underappreciated movie? Soldier. This movie is grossly underrated and a must-see for any action-adventure sci-fi fan. Kurt Russell plays a soldier that's part of an elite team that have been selected and trained since birth. After decades of service, they're now getting into middle age, and a new breed of faster, stronger soldiers have made them obsolete. Kurt Russell's character winds up on a junkyard planet and is taken in by the people that have been stranded there. He doesn't understand how to interact with them, and he doesn't understand how to live in a world where he's not constantly under attack. I really enjoyed this movie, obviously, and I think it's one of Kurt Russell's best performances. Even though I think he says less than 200 words in the entire movie, he pulls it off. So I'm not saying this is the best movie on this list, but I definitely think it's one of the most underappreciated. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and that at least you found maybe 1 or 2 movies in there that caught your interest. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. Hey, and let me know what you think. Was there a movie I missed? Was there something that should have made this list that didn't? I'm absolutely positive that there are. Thanks again for watching. Take care.
Don't you know that you're a grown-up? Subscribe to GenXGrownUp by clicking right here and enable notifications so you won't miss a thing. Use the comments down below to tell us what you think, and while you're there, a thumbs up would be great too. Please share this online wherever you hang out. Connect with GXG on social networks by clicking right here. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.